or record. Okay, this is the Between Night Visitors Part 8. We don't know where Adrian is, so we'll catch Adrian up whenever they join us. Let's take a look at our hunters and your current conditions. We are loaded up with conditions today. The American has drained a taste for it and the Sons of Another World. I'd love to see that last one come out in the role play. I think that'd be fun. The factotum has marked by La Hortensia, which may not be the case anymore since La Hortensia is done with, and always the last to leave. The undeniable has must be photographed by the Whateley Camera and most beloved, and the vessel has a taste for it and a nose for it. In terms of the threats, you have 3 active threats currently, which is kind of good news because it means we won't be introducing anymore. But you are pretty far along in Fig's Pigs. You just have 1 more Fig left. La Hortensia was stopped last time, and that is Patrick Fig. And the question here is, what kind of animal does Patrick Fig believe he is? There was a little bit of extra lore here that happened last time too, where we learned that La Hortensia and Patrick and Obert were trapped in a cave-in for a time. And in order to keep her kids alive, she let them chew on her arm, which is why her arm is missing. And it also it sort of implies that like Obert and Patrick's behavior is like a trauma response to like what they had to do, you know? But you know, that's neither here nor there. But in any case, just a curious detail. The Whateley Camera, you have 10 clues on your complexity 8, which is, the question is, what circumstances will cause someone photographed by the camera to disappear? This unlocks 2 opportunities. One allows you to reverse the process and bring Penelope, the missing actress, back. The other allows you to transport yourself to the Fragrant Void and make contact with the entity there. And I believe that also resolves the threat. Let me look. Oh no, it does not resolve the threat. So that's just a thing you can do. It does give you a custom move though if you do it. And finally, the creature of Cremorne Gardens. This is our, is it real or is it a hoax? Fish creature at the Pleasure Gardens called Cremorne Gardens. We have 1 clue on a complexity 4 question. Is the creature real or is it a hoax? Which is our threshold question. I've also updated the threat sheet with the NPCs that are named and important for each of the threats. And I think that's pretty much that. Yeah, David.
A quick note about Cremorne Gardens. I think we actually have 2 clues.
I
believe there was the fin that was found, right?
Oh, that's right. That was right at the very end. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a torn dorsal fin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there we go. That's good. And the interesting thing that happened last time that's not a capital T threat is Julius. Julius last time was dispatched. Mr. Talford basically sort of like summoned Julius to Mr. Bell's, and Mr. Bell kind of took him back under his control, correct? I think that was that. Yeah. So Julius is no longer a thing that you have to deal with. But you know, I think he's probably already served his purpose for Theodora's purposes anyhow. So, speaking of Theodora, you have 8 mastermind clues currently, which means you are 2 clues away from another threshold event. And yeah, that's sort of where we're at. Any other recap things from last time that we want to be reminded of? Okey-doke. There are no new threats to introduce. We have all the same threats. You all have loads of conditions. And if you haven't updated your dawn questions, you might want to do that now, just to, or at least read through them to see what you're trying to aim for today. And let's go around the table and find out what everyone's interested in doing. Mr. Nelson.
I think that now that the issue with Mr. Bell has largely been settled thanks to Mr. Talford, I think that some of that just sort of awareness that we described previously that Hank then had from the first encounter with Bell, I think some of that has like almost magically faded away for him. It's not nearly as powerful as it once was. And so I think he'd love to spend a little bit of time with Talford, in some way today and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that works for me. Do you want to go do some opium?
Oh, heck yeah. Always.
Okay. That's like a good first scene there then. Mr. Quinn, you're on your own today. What do you want to do?
Good question. I feel like I'm still kind of obsessed with this camera, but also we have a lot of clues, so it doesn't feel like a lot of sense to go. You know what? I'm just gonna go back. I gotta go back and like get into this camera. Maybe we'll answer a fucking question. I don't know.
Who knows? You have plenty of clues to do it. If you all want to make a stab at that at some point, you can certainly do that anytime you wish. Okay, but I think a trip back to the Society Obscura sounds like a fun thing to do. Let's start with Mr. Taliford and Mr. Nelson. Whose vice is this?
This is Hank's.
Okay, go ahead and set up the scene. Hank, what's going on?
Oh, well, we usually, I think Hank's usual spot was there in Limehouse. I can't quite remember the name of the joint.
Oh, it's Jenny Johnston's opium den. It doesn't have a name. It's just Jenny Johnston's opium den. So
they're at Jenny Johnston's in Limehouse. And I think that's probably where they go. They've both been there together before, so it's not a new thing. And I think Hank secures, at this point, his regular room there. It's one, I don't think it's like quite at the very back of the place, but it's near about theirs. And he's set up the pipe, I think he actually brought, while he's been out and about in the city, he's found a nice, particular type of opium, something a little bit special to celebrate, that he opens up from a jar and adds to the pipe and gets that all cooking and ready to use. And he relaxes in there with Mr. Taliford. He's on the bench, and I think as a little bit of the languid smoke fills the room, Hank comments to Mr. Taliford, I haven't seen our vampire guest as of late, and my consciousness of Mr. Bell seems to have decreased. I'm assuming that's your doing.
Well, yeah, I went and had a chat with Mr. Bell and invited Julius along, and we came to an agreement that he would leave you alone and Julius would go back and serve him as before. And, it was just it was a good resolution for everyone, I
thought. And Hank nods, and well, I'm touched, if I'm being honest, that you would go so far for me. I really appreciate it. My condition is a complicated one, and there are many who would take advantage of it.
Well, I can see that, you already had enough to worry about. When I first suggested you make an acquaintance with Mr. Bell, I didn't realize the full extent of what was going on with you. And, it obviously didn't go the way I planned, and I'm really sorry about that. So I just wanted to, let you know that's one less thing you have to worry about from here on out. And maybe it's for the best if you just don't go around Mr. Bell anymore.
I hadn't intended to make any further appearances there. I think in most conditions, my welcome would have been worn out by the antics that ensued.
Oh, if anything, that made him more interested in you, which is another reason to stay as far away as possible.
All the more reason. But in our time together here at Hargrave House, and while I've been here in the city, you seem to do a fairly good job of taking care of the people around you.
Well, I do what I can.
I'm just wondering, I just for a moment, just for a brief time, had a fraction of the sensory experience that you must go through every day of your life. And I wonder how you're able to focus on others with all of that going on all the time.
Well, sometimes focusing on other people is the best distraction from your own problems.
And Hank leans a little bit further back and takes a hit from the pipe. There are other very pleasant distractions from all sorts of problems. Would you care for some?
Oh, that's not for me, thanks. I think Taliford does have a very nice glass of wine that he always is drinking in this place. That's not for me. I do have ways that I distract myself, though. And he sort of leans forward a little bit. He's like, maybe I'll show you one day.
Well, I do crave a good distraction, and while your judgment about Mr. Bell might have proved complicated, I trust that your judgment in other areas is, well, I imagine it's quite nice.
I've never had a single complaint.
Feels like a good cut. Good. I love it. You get to both clear a condition if you feel like you've done that. Certainly, I think maybe drained is off the table. Maybe Sons of Another World, depending on how we're thinking about it. But anyway, it's up to you.
I went ahead and cleared drained.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna clear one of my cannibal things too, because I think actually having other sort of sensory experiences is enough to distract a little bit. I'm gonna clear a nose for it. I'll keep a taste for it.
Very good, very good. And since it's your advice, you get the bonus. Which do you want, Mr. Nelson?
Great question. What are my options on that again?
You can either invite Mr. Taliford to ask you a question about your past, or you can stumble on a clue.
I think I'm going to go ahead and stumble on a clue this time.
All right, go ahead and think of the clue. I'm going to cut over to Mr. Quinn. So, Mr. Quinn, what are you hoping to accomplish when you get to the Society Obscura?
Okay, so I think I have decided, now that I know that the camera has sort of always existed, that it's seen me, it's older than I am, which is really saying something. I think that they don't deserve it, and I want to take it back to Hargrave House.
Very good, very good. Okay, good. So you are at the front doorstep of the Society Obscura. What do you do?
I'm just going to open the door and walk in.
Okay, very good. I think
I own the place.
You walk in, and as soon as you walk in, you catch Periwinkle and Cyrus Abernathy, his presumed employer. You catch them sort of, I don't think there was anybody else around. They weren't expecting anybody just to walk in. You catch them a little in flagrante delicto in the hallway, both dressed in sort of like Roman centurion garb, and reenacting something you might see on a piece of pottery when you and they're very startled, of course, and then when they see who it is, Periwinkle extends his hand to you and says, Mr. Quinn, would you like to join us in an afternoon delight?
I'm going to look them both over in what they're wearing in this whole situation and say, nothing about this is delightful.
And Cyrus says, what can we do for you then today, Mr. Quinn?
I would like to visit the camera again. Alone, please.
You certainly seem very taken with the camera. I'm afraid that right now it is currently out for repairs.
It seems strange to me that you would send such a valuable asset out of your possession.
says, well, perhaps you should come back this evening. I'm sure it'll be returned to us by then. He could totally be lying, by the way.
Yes. Well, perhaps I'll just visit some rooms and see if something else catches my eye, or if I catch someone else's eye.
Cyrus says, well, Mr. Quinn, you are a difficult man to deny anything, but right now the Society Obscura is not having public hours. Everyone is away, sort of running errands and things. Periwinkle and I were sort of taking advantage of our privacy, our presumed privacy. And I think they're trying to get you to leave.
I think, okay, I don't know if we can make it work, but I would like to angle for a taketh away move here.
I love it. I love taketh away. Let's read it.
Um,
So taketh away says, when you destroy a side character physically, spiritually, or socially, and we mean it, like destroy. Describe how it makes you feel, scar your reflection, and roll vitality, and then you get to do different things.
So I think that, I mean, we can just use it as a threat, and then if he doesn't, then I definitely want to lean fully into the taketh away move.
I like it. So what's going on here?
I think you know what? I am not denied. I am the undeniable. I am not denied. I get what I want. And this doesn't leave me feeling very well. And so I think that I am going to make sure that everyone knows what Cyrus and Periwinkle are up to.
Oh, very good. Intriguing. So I assume you leave and then go spread gossip.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good. I like it. That's good.
I also, though, before I leave, I want to make sure he understands that I am about to destroy him.
Yeah.
It's no secret.
I think he'll say something like, I do hope that you will exercise discretion, Mr. Quinn. I love my wife very much, and I wouldn't want her to know that I have been taking liberties with the houseboy.
Well, I think you'll wish that you had made a different choice. And I'll just turn around and leave. And I know all the right people to spread the gossip to.
Very good.
Obviously.
Very good. I love it. Let's see how it goes. So let's just scar your reflection now. We'll talk about that later. Go ahead and roll vitality.
That is 11.
Nice. On 10 plus, you get to choose 2 from the list.
I am going to take something from my victim and add it to my personal quarters because I'm all about that.
Okay.
And I'll take advantage on my next roll.
Very good. What are you taking? The camera?
Can I take the camera? Absolutely. If that's an option, that's what I came here for.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if you did that. Like maybe I think it might be kind of one of those situations where maybe he wasn't lying. Maybe it actually was out for repairs and you intercept it along the way.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. But that seems like that's probably going to take up your day, I think, though.
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
This is a lot. Like this is a day-long thing, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're in good shape, and your next roll's with advantage. So that's good. Let's go back to Mr. Talford and Mr. Nelson. So, what's next? Also, what clue did you find?
Yeah, I had an idea for that. So I think that people bring in all sorts of things to the den, and like I imagine bits and pieces of newspaper and other pamphlets and stuff end up strewn about here and there. And I think that there is a like bit of a poster that I find while we're at the den that is evidence or an advertisement that Cremore Gardens was looking to open up an auxiliary location across town, like taking over some kind of city park. And I think that's the clue.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. So story about garden expansion.
Yeah.
Love that. And so, Mr. Talford, Mr. Nelson, what's next after the opium den?
So I think Taliford would like to go to Cremorne Gardens because I think it would be good to talk to that little psychic boy again. Now that we've had some time to reflect on our actions.
Indeed,
maybe go with a slightly more level-headed approach.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting. Yeah, that's good. What about you, Mr. Nelson?
I think having seen the advertisement for Cremorne Gardens, I think Hank would definitely join and head that way. Plus, he didn't get to meet the psychic boy last time, and that does sound a little bit interesting to him. So, well, he might end up branching off. We'll see.
Who goes into the tent first, or do you go in the same time?
Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Do you want a time alone with him first, or do you want to?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay, then I think Hank will join you in the tent.
All right, great. So we'll go in together.
So you arrive at Cremorne Gardens, and as you're approaching the tent, you're actually led to the tent by your nose initially because there's a strong waft of incense that fills your nose, and you can tell it's coming from the purple silk tent of Greco, the second-sided boy. And
I think before we go in, I think I would tell Hank, like, hey, I think I'm kind of opening up a little bit. I'm like, hey, I was a real asshole the last time I was here. So like, I think I explained the whole purpose for coming back and like everything that I did last time I was here.
Yeah, I think Hank hears about that, and I think he's a little bit surprised. But also, I mean, we all have indiscretions, right? So he's certainly had plenty in his life. So
as you are making your way to the tent, you will see a crowd of people gathered around a man in a full suit of medieval armor. He's placing a rose crown on his Queen of Beauty. His Queen of Beauty is a blushing elderly woman with a corncob pipe in her mouth. And people are laughing and, carrying on. And as you get closer and closer to the tent, the noises of the day start to fall away. Laughter sort of recedes into the background. The chirp of birds becomes more distant. And it's just you in the tent. And when you step inside, you see Greco. He's a young man, probably in his late teens, early 20s. And he has this painted, like it's like a jewel, but then it's painted around to look like an eye on his forehead. And he says, Mr. Taliford, have you come here to besmirch my reputation again?
Well, about that, I actually came to apologize. I feel like I didn't handle the situation very well yesterday. And there was no reason for me to behave like that. And I'm sorry.
He says, and who is your friend?
Well, so this is Mr. Nelson. And I thought that,
He's like, I do that.
Oh, what a dick. I thought he might actually benefit from, your insight.
He says, perhaps. I had in fact just drawn a tarot card right before you walked in. Do you want to see it?
Sure. I'm not sure their significance. I'm no expert in those matters.
He presses forward the card that he has facing him, and he sets it down on the table, and it's the lovers. He says, I'm sure this isn't any kind of portent at all.
I think Hank casts a quick glance at Mr. Taliford and says, I certainly don't. Interesting card. Sure, yes.
Well, Mr. Nelson, is there anything you would like for me to do for you today? Would you like to know about the future? Explanations of the past, perhaps?
I think Hank will, not necessarily totally invited, just grab the chair that's there and have a seat in it. Legs splayed a bit as he leans back and then comes forward. I would love to inquire about the future.
Certainly.
I've lived a rather complicated past, and lately I've been feeling like my luck has held out a little too long. I'm wondering if you might know a thing or two about that.
I would be happy to look into the cards to see what they say. I am very fond of this particular spread that I have recently learned. It's called the Spider's Web. I'm sure that must have some sort of appeal.
It seems familiar, intimate almost.
He invites you to cut the deck,
Hank will.
and then he lays out the cards upside down in, it's sort of a kind of a cross-like pattern, I suppose. It looks vaguely like a spider web. And he says, well, let's start here. And he goes to flip a card, and he flips it over, and it is the devil. And he looks up and says, looks up at you, looks up at Mr. Nelson, and goes for the next card. Flips it. It is also the devil. And then he goes to the next card, his hand trembling, and flips it, and it is also the devil. And the color has started to drain from his face. And he says, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask the two of you to leave.
I think Hank sort of elbows Mr. Taliford a little bit. Is that bad?
Certainly doesn't seem good. If you could just indulge us a little bit, we came here for guidance.
I'm here. I have to go. My break is just now, and I believe Mr. Simpson wanted to speak to me about something. Thank you for stopping by, Mr. Taliford. And he sort of like drops the tarot cards nervously. They just spill all over the table, and they're all devils. And he pushes past you and leaves. Mr. Nelson, take the condition, the devil.
I'd also like to collect all the devil tarot cards.
You can, and you can put that in your personal quarters. Oops, all devils tarot card deck. What do you do after that?
As he's collecting them, and like notices that I like to think that each one is like a slightly it's like a different painter painted each card like this, like a bunch of tarot decks were combined and all the devils were put into one almost, but by some sort of miracle or something, or the opposite, some omen. And as Hank's collecting them all, he looks over at Mr. Taliford, and I think probably extending his previous question, does this mean anything to you? It seems unintentional or very intentional, depending on how you view it.
Well, I don't think that he's the type of person to play a trick on us. I think that this is probably a bad sign. I think we should probably be on our guard.
And Hank, finishing collecting the cards, and sort of organizes them, tucks it in a pocket on his duster. Well, we're already here at the gardens. Do you fancy taking a little stroll and thinking a bit about a fish man to take our eyes or take our minds off the case?
Absolutely.
And Hank will like extend his elbow up for Mr. Taliford and head out of the tent.
Mr. Quinn, you have managed to intercept the Whateley camera. I'd like to have the scene when you're bringing it to Hargrave House. What do you do with it? Do you set it up somewhere? Do you hide it? What does this look like? Is it displayed in the trophy room?
I think we established that we have like a knockoff Whateley camera.
You do, yeah.
So I think I want to go set it up beside the other one so that I can like begin an investigation, basically. So yeah, I don't hide it. I think now that Julius is gone, I trust everybody in Hargrave House. So
yeah. So are you gonna tell the others that you have it? Like, I assume maybe okay, when you get ready to like resolve this threat, maybe you'll be using it or whatever. Good. And I will give you an information move here if you want to examine the camera.
Yeah, sure, I will. Yeah. Why not?
Sensitivity.
So I've got it all set up in, let's say it's in the trophy room, I feel like. And I think that green is always like setting the stage for us to like do a little investigation, right? Like setting things up. And I feel like in honor of green, I do something similar. I like set it all up so it's all ready.
Yeah. I like that. You can do a sensitivity information move.
That is, I get advantage because of my last one. Hold on. That's not that much better. That is 6, 7, 8, 9.
9. Let me give you your clue. I better look at the existing clues so I don't double up here. Okay. Okay, good. You will notice that there is etched into the leather of the camera what appears to be, with a very etched with a very fine tool, what appears to be an incredibly complex mathematical equation. This is probably something that Mr. Whateley did during his research, and it has to have some kind of meaning. Complication. I think for now, I'm going to just say that, so you have this must be photographed by the Whateley camera. I'm going to not give you another condition, but I'm going to change that condition to be must possess the Whateley camera. What are you thinking right now?
I think that there's something about the camera that bothers me. I am always, so far as I'm aware, the oldest, most ethereal being in a room. And I don't love that something might out old and out ethereal me. It has a power that I think I'm jealous of. I don't like it.
So then this is more of like a possession of jealousy then, like a
Yeah.
control. Oh, that's interesting. Like it. I'll cut back to Mr. Nelson and Mr. Taliford. I'll give you each like one more go here at the Cremorne Gardens. I'll remind you of some of the things that are around in case you are wanting some specific direction here. We have the dancing platform. We have the American Bowling Saloon, the banqueting hall. There's the promenade, the Hedge Maze, which Mr. Taliford is familiar with already. There is Chain Walk, which is the street that abuts it, which is a sort of artistic sort of colony. And yeah, so what do we do?
If I were a dark creature of the night, and I certainly am not, I would perhaps hide in a maze designed to confuse and confound. Do you think, Mr. Taliford, that might be a good route of our investigation?
That makes sense to me. I probably still remember most of the twists and turns.
Well, I'm relying on it. Perhaps you'll notice if there's any new or unexpected ones that would merit a little bit of investigation.
Sounds good.
Oh, you're muted, Jason.
The Hedge Maze is towering hedges that seem to block you off from the outside world when you walk in. There are stone benches and fountains and things. The occasional small animal has managed to crawl in. I paint the scene, everyone. The Hedge Maze, unbeknownst to people entering the first time, the Hedge Maze is designed to scare patrons. They don't actually sell it that way. You don't discover it till you go in. What frightening display, although certainly not as frightening as what Mr. Taliford came up with, what frightening display do you see when you turn a corner?
So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So I think you round one corner and there's just a little table and it's like set up for afternoon tea, but there's two spooky skeletons drinking tea.
Similar vibe. I think that as you round one of the bends, there's just a like full horse skeleton coming out of the wall, as it were.
I think that, just keeping with the theme, that there's like some skeletal birds that appear motionless, except that their wings are like slightly moving.
Very good, very good. So how are you investigating here, Mr. Nelson? What are you doing?
So I think that, oh, this would be interesting. We have our I can't remember where it's listed, but we have the move where we can put our hand on a place and try to speak with any spirits that are.
If you have the
associated
cosmic
with it.
passage marked, yeah, you can do that.
I have dang near all of my masks marked. So
Okay. Do you want to do that move? We can read it.
I think that's what I want to do.
Yeah. When you have the cosmic passage marked and touch, listen to, or otherwise attuned to a building's architectural details, but in this case, it's, the Hedge Maze's details, I guess. Roll with sensitivity. Yeah.
Thinking if I arrayed like a little half circle of the devil tarot cards there along the ground, could I perhaps gain advantage on this roll?
Yeah, sure. I like it. Yeah, you can take it.
Keep them with the theming.
Yeah, you can mark them, of course.
So that, I'm glad I did. That's 6 on the die, plus 2 is an 8.
Mr. Talford, what do you think about Mr. Nelson doing magic right now?
So I think I wandered off a bit to check down a side passage, and I come back and he's just mid incantation surrounded by these tarot cards. What the hell, man? So I expect it's going to go terribly, but
very good, very good. Very good, Mr. Nelson. Would you get an 8?
I got an 8.
So reading the move. On a hit, a ghost will appear and answer a single question you pose to it, or perform a small task, your choice. Any answers it gives can be in the form of a clue at my discretion. But because you didn't get a 10 plus, it might ask you for something in return. It might not, but it might.
Okay.
Mr. Talford, I think you actually see the ghost first, perhaps because of your sensitivities. You tend to see things in your peripheral vision. And whenever things show up just inside your peripheral vision, it's usually not a good thing, or it's some sort of entity. And you see a little boy, maybe 12 years old. And he's laughing and running around corners. And every time you sort of like think you see him, he kind of goes around a corner in the hedge maze. You know this is some sort of spirit, just because you know. And Mr. Nelson, you hear the laughter approaching you. You can hear it deeper in the hedge maze, getting closer and closer. But I'm curious, Mr. Talford, what do you do?
So I think I'm gonna walk Hank through the process like that he started here, right? So like I'm gonna point out where the spirit is, and I'm going to like try and like get him to catch this spirit and get whatever answers he's looking for. So I think I'm just gonna be like a spiritual guide, more or less.
Yeah, I think when Mr. Talford arrives back to him, Hank's like, "Oh, thank goodness you're here. I have no idea what I'm doing."
Well, this isn't a thing you can stop in the middle of, so I think it's best if we see it through.
This little boy rounds the corner to the little clearing where the two of you are standing. And he runs up to you, Mr. Nelson, and he like just slaps the shit out of your leg, just like really, really heavy, and says, "Tag, you're it."
I think Hank, like, rubs his leg a little bit sore and says, "All right."
And
Well, you better go get him then.
And you're chasing him through the maze. I think this is all he wants. He just wants like to play, essentially. Give me that scene. What does that look like, Mr. Nelson?
Yeah. Hank is so much bigger and stronger than this little ghost child. But like he's been around lots of kids before. I think the family he grew up in, there was quite a few nieces and nephews and siblings and the like. So this isn't his first time like playing with a little kid. And so he definitely like holds back on how fast he runs and chases, and he acts like he can't find him even when he's like obviously like there behind a frond, like just sort of like and he really like, makes a good go of it. But finally, he's like, right when he's like, "Oh no, where is he? Where's that kid at?" And he like, walks half a foot past him and then reaches down and tags him. I'm like, gotcha.
Nice. And he stops. And he's breathing heavy. And he says, "I have to go soon."
Oh, well, before you do, there is one other person that I think would be great fun to play with. There's a rather strange looking fellow who's been around these gardens, bottom half man, top half fish. Russell, any memories there for you?
He says, "I know who you're talking about. I've heard him sing his song. And he sings the song, the alleged song that the creature sings. I'm not going to sing it, and it's not even like it's more like a whistle more than, or a hum more than, there's no words. But you can identify the melody. It is sad. It's a sad melody. And when the boy disappears from your view, you can still hear that sad melody bouncing around in your head, or drifting away perhaps. But in any case, that's your clue.
I think after catching him, I imagine Mr. Talford was a little bit behind because he hadn't taken off quite so quickly after the child, and when Mr. Talford catches up, I think Hank is just sort of mirroring the medley, whistling it softly as he walks back over to him.
I think Talford is genuinely impressed, and he's like, that was a really good thing that you did. Like that spirit was tied to this place, and now it's free. And if you hadn't come here, there's no telling how long you would have been stuck here. So, I think that you've really changed recently, and I'm very impressed to see it.
Thank you. Is this what you're up to all the time?
Oh no, I wish. After a while, you sort of stop caring so much. I walked past that child and didn't bat an eye.
When you go to collect your devil tarot cards from the ground, Mr. Nelson, you will notice that the image has changed. The image has changed to feature a picture of the boy on the card in the place of one of the figures dancing on the chains for the devil.
And he picks up the cards and shows it to Mr. Talford and says, well, at least he seems to be dancing on the chains, not in them, right?
Mr. Quinn, there's a ring at the door. Green is out. Ding, 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 ding.
So first I'll call for Green. It takes me a minute to realize that he's not there. And then I will sigh heavily and I leave the room, but still watching the camera quite intensely as I go get the door.
You open the door and you see a little man that you don't recognize. And he has a cart that he has pulled up to the front doorstep of Hargrave House. He says, I'm very, very sorry for coming to the front, but nobody was answering at the back. But I have a delivery here.
Delivery of...
fabric, of course.
Right. Who is it for?
Well, I was just told to bring it here. And he says, lots of it. And he points, he takes you to the back of the cart if you go, and it's loaded up with bolts of sapphire blue fabric in various patterns and various, textures. And he says, are you getting ready to redo the interiors here or something? This is a lot of fabric.
Oh, no, my employee, dabbles in fashion design. I'm sure that they must have ordered this.
Well, I hope this color is in style.
Yes, looks like I'll be wearing a lot of it.
He says, you want to give me a hand with this? As he goes for the bolts of fabric.
No, I don't.
Very good. That will conclude the day phase. That was a mastermind clue too. We got a freebie. And we'll take a break. We'll do the desk phase when we get back. If you want to go ahead and answer a question related to the Whateley camera, that might be a good thing to do. So maybe be thinking about the solution there, but we will take 5. All right. Okay. Desk phase. Are you all going to make a go at this Whateley camera question?
I'm excited for that.
We should.
I mean, this is your chance to show everyone how brilliant you are, because this is a complex thing to do, right? You have to describe the circumstances that will cause one photograph by the camera to disappear. And of course, the roll is best if you get as many of these details worked in a way that makes sense-ish. So it's not really a theory as much as it is a procedure. But who has some thoughts?
So we have the door with the planet system painted on it. So maybe there has to be like a certain alignment of the stars and the planets to start for it to actually function.
Okay.
Step number one.
Step one. Okay. We'll put a mark there for now. So maybe the silvery door represents the entrance to the Fragrant Void, and the planet system indicates like a particular alignment. Okay, very good.
To bring in that the camera has always existed. So I think the idea is that like it's always existed, it's always there. And so part of the ritual is actually making the camera like, maybe it's not always around. Do you know what I mean? Maybe you have to call it forth from the void first. Maybe it's like a two-step process.
Interesting. Okay.
What if like the camera form that it finds itself in now is like just its newest incarnation?
Yes. Yeah.
In which case then like I'm thinking about, because hey, go ahead.
I was gonna say a replica is actually not a replica of the Whateley camera. It's just the same camera of the same model. And the essence of this camera just happens to be in the Whateley camera now.
I definitely think that the warm spice smells, I think that's fairly easily attributed to like needing to burn some incense or something and have I think actually tying to, we're sort of bridging places with this. I like the idea that part of the ritual, the conditions that have to be met is you have to feel transported from where you are currently. Like, okay, you enough things have like, and that makes sense with the people who had this, that they might have done this accidentally or on purpose. Who knows?
They actually said they all received the steps of the procedure in dreams and came together and did it, but then they forgot. Presumably, you will all forget as well.
Gotcha.
If it works the same way with you all, but
so I like the idea that like the setting in which the camera is used must be in all sensory ways evocative of a place that is other than where it is.
Interesting. So this is the smells then.
Yeah. So like the warm spice smells is like, that's one element. So in that case, that's maybe what they used. Maybe they went with some sort of tropical theme, who knows, but something that was very different than this room in this London flat.
See, I was going to say warm spice smells and deep purple smudge is like, we got to hit that mulled wine because none of us can actually be sober when this happens. Like,
that's pretty good too.
That's an interesting thing. You got to be like drunk.
Yeah, like you got. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? Because like you need to be disconnected from reality, right? Yeah. And so that can be like a catalyst to start the process.
Oh, intriguing. Okay. Do you all agree with that?
Yeah.
So
I think
that knocks out 2 clues. So
yeah, that's like in line with the same concept.
Yeah, you have to dissociate a little bit, right? You got to detach. Okay. So we know what you all have to be doing, at least initially, and we know that tonight is the night based off the astronomical or could be astrological charts, some sort of alignment of planets in any case.
The hard part's going to be getting the peacock drunk.
Yeah, I'm dying to know what this peacock's about. Like, what is that about? This is like the toughest answer a question probably in the game. Because
so I mean, the peacock is white. That goes with the gold, black, gold, silver, white, right? So the peacock is the last step.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, okay, I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say we obviously have to arrange things in that particular order, and I like the idea that the peacock
is the last of those things.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
And the
no harm can come to the peacock though. Now it's my friend.
What if we just have to poke it enough to make that creepy peacock crow sound?
Maybe we just need a feather.
Oh, I mean, I like that. That really we need something tied, like intimately tied to that color. And so a feather from this albino peacock is one of the elements, and that's why they had the albino peacock.
It's like it's a dramatic expression of the color white,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
Like an
Well,
albino peacock in a crystal cage. Right?
On top of this idea of drama, we have this like everything is very luxurious. I feel like what's happening here too with all of these clues. And we have this script like the Ecstasies of Pythia, and the person who went missing is an actor. And I wonder if there actually needs to be like it has to be a production, like the camera demands.
Maybe that's why Penelope was, because she was an actress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. So do we think that the Ecstasies of Pythia like you have to do something with that particular play, or is that just speaking to the idea of performance?
I think it's speaking to the idea of performance. Like maybe that's the play that they did, the Society Obscura did, and we could do any play. But
intriguing. Okay. Let's go through our clues. So we think that warm spice smells and the purple smudges. You got to get drunk. they were doing mulled wine at the Society Obscura. That'll, you all can do whatever you have on hand, I guess. The Ecstasies of Pythia implies the idea of performance. So there is some sort of performance has to happen. I like that right now, tentatively at least. No thoughts on the pyramid yet or the cinnabar pendant. We do think there's some sort of order of things, black, gold, silver, white, and that the albino peacock is the final expression of that order. Until I'm not going to mark the black, gold, silver, white thing yet, though, until I know what you're doing with that. So what are these steps?
I think the complex mathematical equation relates to. I think that whatever is black, gold, silver, and white all have very precise quantities that have to be reflective of this equation. And so I think the math is to figure out for the number of people who were trying to potentially transport via the Whateley camera, we need to have the appropriate quantities of all of the ratios right.
Oh, intriguing. What if it's what if it's not a math equation? What if it's actually like a periodic table thing?
Actual elements. That's fun.
You need.
Was there the periodic table back then? I don't know. I don't actually know.
I don't know when that was made. I don't know.
Or did we would they have known about
1869? So
I mean, maybe they looked it up on their iPhone or whatever else.
Tablet that they have. Yeah. And it's just an idea. Okay. I think the really solid ones you have so far are the warm spice smells, the deep purple smudge, the idea of this order, and the peacock being a part of that order. Obviously, the planetary alignments. The performance thing I think is probably good. I just want to know what that looks like and how it might incorporate these other things and how it might connect up to that pattern as well.
I think the small bronze pyramid could be tied to the gold color. It's like bronze has a golden color, even if it is not itself gold. So I wonder if that would, maybe that was getting a solid gold pyramid might have been a little bit too expensive even for this eclectic society. And so they satisfied the gold requirement with a bronze pyramid instead.
Oh, maybe that's why they lost control of it too, because they did it wrong.
Yeah,
they cut corners. Yeah, they cut corners. Okay, I like that. So it has to be a gold thing. That's that thing. Okay, good. Intriguing.
Maybe
so I mean,
we can
along those lines, the cinnabar pendant could be gold, could be silver, right? Like the pendant,
red.
Right, but the chain part of it, the rest of it could easily be silver. Like the cinnabar could be completely irrelevant. It's actually the silver in the chain that we care about.
Very good. Okay. So Society Obscura was using they weren't using perfect implements, basically. Essentially what it kind of boils down to. Oh, that's intriguing. Okay, I like that. So some of these represent the Society Obscura's mistakes, essentially, right?
Yeah,
that's good.
I also like the idea that the cinnabar pendant necklace, because cinnabar is a very blood red sort of red.
Right. Yeah.
That it was this silver necklace with this maybe even opal pendant or something, but that it is become red because part of the ritual, you must give blood from everyone who is a participant.
Intriguing.
And that could explain the cinnabar color.
Well, it actually is cinnabar. Is the
It's
thing.
made of cinnabar.
It's made of cinnabar. Yeah.
All right.
This will give you cancer. if you like, deal with it for much longer. You're all just busy getting cancer right now at Hargrave House. Okay, good. Okay, you're doing pretty good as far as like, okay, so some of these things are basically like mistakes that the Society of Screw-Up made, which I think is an intriguing approach. What is the procedure then? What do you have to do to make the camera work? Get drunk. Check.
Put on this show. The show, I think, has to have all the elements in it. So like with the black, the gold, the silver, and the white, and they have to come in that order. And once the white thing comes out, once you see the peacock feather, that's when you have to take the photo.
Oh, I see. Very good. Okay, so then it's like these are like the acts of the play, essentially. This performance. Oh, intriguing. Okay, like that. Okay, well then you might just. This might be it. The other three clues just may not come in. I mean,
did we come in with the black? Did we already explain the black?
Not yet. Yeah.
Maybe the black is actually a camera, because we have this like the near replica of the camera. Maybe the first thing is actually like having another camera, which could be black to represent the black.
Interesting.
Just trying to work in these other clues.
I don't know if the object. It seems like the object has to be pretty dramatic if the last one is this albino peacock in a crystal cage, right?
So what if it's taking a picture?
Well, it's almost like they're offerings, you know.
So what if it's taking a picture into the lens of another camera for the black?
Oh, that's intriguing. Oh, how bizarre. Okay, I'm kind of into it. And
I was actually going to posit for the silver that maybe there's a mirror involved.
Oh yeah, because mirrors kind of were figured prominently at the Society of Screw as well.
Yeah, and also like they at this time especially, the backing of them is silvered, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
oh, intriguing. Okay, so you got black, you've got silver, you've got white. What's the gold thing gonna be? Don't cut corners.
Oh,
maybe something from the collection might be a good opportunity here to use something from Mr. Quinn's collection.
That's true.
If my golden railroad spike wasn't already marked.
Well, we're not getting advantage, right?
You're not getting advantage of that.
We could still use it in the fiction.
Yeah.
I have a vial of rubies, but not anything that really reflects the gold. Besides my general costume, there's a lot of gold happening in what I'm wearing.
Well, you have the collection thing though. You can like just pull.
Oh yeah, I can just go in and take something. You're right.
Yeah. There's like tons of stuff there. I mean, these are things that are like if we're thinking that these are like essentially offerings to the entity, because it's kind of seems like where they are.
Yeah.
I mean, these might be good things to pull from, right? Like because these are like.
I mean, I've got the Holy Grail.
Right, exactly. You've got the whole right. Yeah, you've got like the holy. You have the Holy Grail.
I have the Holy Grail.
Right, like that feels important. That feels like it would satisfy the requirement to me.
All right, that's what it is. The Holy Grail.
I mean, maybe even the black and the silver can come from here as well. I mean, this might be the key, right? I mean, you got lots of stuff here.
Oh, I have to discard the reflection because I took another one though.
It's true. Okay, so the Holy Grail is going to be the silver object. Is that what we've decided?
The silver or the gold? I don't know what color.
Well, the golden spike can be. The golden spike has had. Like
golden spike. Yeah,
has had a pretty strong history, and then we have this chalice you have laying around, and then we have the idea of you have to take a photo with another picture camera, which I think is intriguing. Okay, all right. So I think that's probably. I'm still not sure where the math or the camera having always existed comes into play. It may just be that those don't get used. I don't know, but
I mean, we did, if we just want to explain away the existence of the camera, we did have that positing that it's actually not this particular camera. It's an essence
that's true.
of the camera
That's
like
true.
travels through.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because this is almost like this is an object of power, and it seems like it's almost more of like this is starting to feel like more of like a right or an offering, right? And I think that's kind of the important bit. Well, 10 clues is pretty good. That's a +2 on the roll. So what is this? So what's the play like? What is that about?
So I imagine that we're all gonna like gather, and then the everyone has to like do the role in the play because we don't have anyone else, right? It's just us at Hargrave House, so everyone has to take a role in the play. I will obviously take the starring role because I mean I'm dressed for the occasion, and so I feel like we've all just got like the script and we're all just like reading the script because of course we don't know the lines, but we have to literally put on this play, and then
also we're drunk, so it's
also
going
we're
great.
drunk, and someone has to take the picture. I nominate Green.
So Green is off camera, literally taking the photo. Good. Okay, I like that. What's the play about? What's the performance about? What happens with these objects?
What if our play is about like it's almost a comedy of people trying to operate a camera?
It's an opportunity. I wish Adrian was here because I feel like Green would have the perfect comedy script that he's written for this event. I love that.
All right, so then I'm going to go around the table and find out what everyone's doing in your scene then. So what are you doing, Mr. Taliford?
So which one would I be? We've got Hank is gold, right? And
Green is presumably taking care of the
black.
And
I'll take the white because I have the peacock.
Well, you have the chalice as well.
Oh,
so,
I have chalice too, but I really want the peacock. The peacock.
I can just borrow the chalice. I'm sure.
For my
Just
just
hang
hang out.
It's fitting that Taliford gets the Holy Grail.
Right, exactly. I think like I have no idea. Right, like this is completely lost on me. The fact that I'm like drinking my mulled wine out of the Holy Grail. But I think that's generally my scene is like I'm just like fumbling around with this camera while drinking out of my silver chalice and just like dropping a lot of things. Like I'm dropping the grail on the floor, I'm dropping the camera. It's like taking pictures at weird angles. And I think that's the majority of my scene.
What are you doing in your scene, Mr. Nelson?
I think Hank is like desperately trying to. He's like the person who's following after Mr. Taliford, and like as he's dropping the chalice, he's the one who's catching it and like putting it back up. He's the one who's like riding the table that's about to get knocked over. I think at one point, again revealing each of the colors in turn, I think he pulls out his stake, and there's like a chair leg that Mr. Taliford like kicks off, and he like shoves it underneath the table to keep the table up. And he serves that part in the comedy.
So what happens with this peacock, Mr. Quinn?
I think that I come in as the subject of that's trying to be photoed by Mr. Taliford with the peacock. Like we're doing like a dramatic thing. And the comedy aspect of mine is that I'm so self-involved that I'm literally just like still posing and voguing and like holding the peacock, which I walk in on a leash, by the way. Like I walk it in like pets.
This scene is so absurd.
Totally oblivious to the fact that my photo's not even really being taken.
I like the idea that the peacock's tail is also like obscuring you and you're like pushing your way through the peacock tail.
Very good.
It's hard to obscure me though in this outrageous outfit that I am wearing.
One wonders why the Whateley Camera works in this manner, and yet it may well. Who would like to roll the dice? +2.
I can, I guess. I'm obsessed with the camera, so. 9 plus 2 is 11.
Very good. Now the question is, are you trying to all be transported to the Fragrant Void, or are you trying to, is the comedy like the reversal to like get Penelope back? Is that why it's a comedy?
Oh, I want to go to the void. I don't know about anybody else, but I want to go to the void.
Void, 100%.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about the dusk phase first, though. So we do have the dusk phase. Okay, so let's talk about the quickening. That would be intriguing if that were to fire off right now. And I'm going to put you disadvantage too because of the devil. You're muted, David. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. That is a 3 with disadvantage plus sensitivity, which is 2, so that's 5.
5. Okay, let's read it. You are going to lose control. You have to either retire this character and I put the cursed in play, or you can always mark your mask.
Well, when I mark a mask and get drained, I'm already at 3 conditions. Does that mean I have to mark 2 masks?
So no. If you mark the mask right now and get if you mark the mask right now to bump it up, you would get drained, yes, because you're marking the mask for purposes of bumping up the roll. So essentially, I think your character is like careening towards towards retirement right now.
So
it's just going to depend on how you want to do it.
These are my final 2 masks.
You also have the mask of revelry is available too as well from the Creature of Cromorn Gardens. Oh, but it's not available. You have to. The only one that's available right now is, well, the Whateley Camera doesn't have one. So yeah.
Yep. So
basically, do you want to die or do you want to become a spider spider?
I really want this experience. So I have marked.
Wait, why can't we use the mask of the Cromorn Garden ones? Because this isn't really Whateley Camera related, right? This is just the quickening.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's fair.
Well, here's the thing. I still have 2 masks left in addition to the blood-soaked portal.
Okay.
So
I see. So
what this does is this leaves me with only the blood-soaked portal after this. So Hank is officially on his very last leg and he doesn't know it. So
well, so the thing is, like, as an out of character thing, like if you choose to go the mask route, you're going to be really, really close to like almost guaranteeing that you die, right? Yeah. Instead of transforming. Or you can choose to go out cursed right now. I'll let you go to the Fragrant Void in your were-spider form if you want.
That would be very interesting. Also, actually, no, I like this narratively. I like the idea that maybe part of the everything has to be in alignment is like the camera, like the shutter click has to happen at dusk. Like as the sun is in a particular position in the sky. And so as whatever happens in this moment, I think the quickening happens for Hank. Yeah, I like that better even than just running out of masks. So let's do that.
Okay, so this is the last time you're all going to see Sure Shot Hank Nelson. That is it. We'll come back to that in a moment. Let's go. Any other moves we have to deal with right now? Let's see. No factotum today, so let's look at undeniable. Nope, you're okay on that. And so, moving right along. Since this is taking place in the trophy room, and we've already done that, we're going to skip paint the scene about Hargrave House, and instead, it sounds like you're all going to the Fragrant Void. Is that fair to say? Okay, good. Good. And do we have any unresolved Janus Mess prompts? I don't think we do. I would like to know how the statue is changing though.
Yes, I wish I had thought about that. 2, because I marked 2, I think.
You can
Or
do it during
one?
the dawn phase too. You don't do it yet.
Okay, yeah. Give me more time.
And let's go to the London at night. Oh boy. What's an appropriate thing to do when you're going to be in a different dimension? Maybe there's nothing. I don't know. I don't think there is. I'm taking away your opportunity to get echoes, but I don't care. I don't think in the movie we'd be cutting away to London while you're in another dimension. I just don't think we would be, because London, we're not in London anymore. And so we have to figure out what this looks like for Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson, I'm okay with you just sort of like appearing, like in the Fragrant Void, you appear in your werespider form or some form of it, right? But then when you all get back, you lose control. You're like, you run off, and that's it, and you're in your werespider form, and that's that for Mr. Nelson as far as that goes. I think it's a great way of doing it. I also like the idea of, I'm really like into this idea of you perform the ritual in a serious way to go to the Fragrant Void, and then you perform the comedy to reverse it, to pull Penelope back. And so you're going to have to do that anyway to resolve the threat. So I kind of like the idea, you can do both, right? You can pull Penelope back and then go into the Fragrant Void yourself, right? But I'm curious, are you trying to get Penelope back like that way, or are you going to try to find her while you're there?
I think maybe trying to find her while we're there is most
Okay.
interesting.
Very good. And
also, I have a idea for Hank in the Fragrant Void. What if like Hank and his werespider form are both there while they're in the void, and he's like,
cool
and he
too.
doesn't know which he's going to come back as.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's interesting. Intriguing. Oh, looks like we lost Alicia. We'll give Alicia a minute. I thought she might have frozen up because she wasn't moving.
Or it could be that there's sort of a interposition sort of situation where like at any given moment Hank is both Hank and also the spider, and so it could vary by moment which one he's represented as.
Oh, that's pretty good too. Yeah, I'll leave it up to you, whatever you think. I think it's good.
Or superposition, not interposition, but yeah, close enough.
Management. The Fragrant Void.
Man, how tragic. Hank and Taliford's relationship was just about to
It
kick
was
off.
just getting ready to go, and now you got to go kill him.
I know,
yeah. Actually, I can't remember exactly what the questions and opportunities are on that one, but I think it might be. I'm pretty sure you can definitely, you can always destroy him, but I think there might be an option where like you do heal him, but he's so affected by the experience that he doesn't rejoin Hargrave House. It just goes away, but he's not dead, you know. So
yeah, I have no idea what's in part of that threat. I never read it, so
yeah, it's I mean, basically what's going to happen is there's a werespider terrorizing London essentially. Yeah. And Mr. Taliford at least knows who that is. So when you read in the papers about a giant spider that tore some people apart, you'll be like, oh, that explains a lot. So yeah. I do think it's interesting that like what provoked the transformation is you sort of like dabbling with this like this cosmic power, you know, because that's what happened last time too when you went into Mr. Bell's house, right? So I thought that was interesting, because there's nothing that says that like it has to be like a full moon situation, right? That's not anywhere in the game.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I think it's sort of like pulling out and revealing part of him when it's like almost like showing vulnerability in those moments, but then that vulnerability is exploited by.
So Alicia has to reset her internet, so I'm going to pause the recording until she gets back. Okay, we're back. So while you're, Alicia, when you dropped, basically what we decided is that Mr. Nelson is going to have the ability to sometimes be the spider and sometimes be Mr. Nelson while in the Fragrant Void. And then once you all get back, that's it for Mr. Nelson. The spider takes over, although Mr. Nelson realizes that, you know, he doesn't know what's going to happen when you all get back, but we know what's going to happen when he gets back. So, but yeah, the Fragrant Void. The die result was a 10 plus, so this won't be as difficult as it could be. It still will be pretty challenging though. And we're not doing the unseen. We're going to just stay with this for a little bit. And so I think we'll just play it out like we would a normal phase. We don't have to, it's not going to be like timered like a regular night phase would be. The Fragrant Void is, well, there might be a description in the thing. Let me read. I promise I wrote this. The Fragrant Void is as described. You smell it. It has a pleasant smell. You start to smell it. Basically, you first smell the sort of like the burning smell of the flash powder of the camera, right? But that burning smell starts to change and it becomes something much sweeter, much more aromatic, almost floral. And Whateley posited that this realm is ancient Earth, right? Primordial Earth. And it kind of is that. You are definitely on a landmass of some sort, but the land masses haven't come together yet. You see in the distance other land masses, and they're just floating in midair and churning all around these little floating islands is this silvery void, this like silvery space. You all look down to notice that you have silver cords extending from your stomachs off into nothingness. Mr. Nelson, how is yours different?
I think that Hank's cord is like all the other ones look fairly pristine and strong. I think that's especially true for Mr. Quinn, who has this otherworldly tether to life, right? But I think that Hank's is like looking quite threadbare, and it's a cord maybe of, you know, 3 significant strands that are themselves composed of smaller ones, and each of those is frayed, and I think more than one of them, probably maybe even 2 of them, have already snapped, and there's just one of these strands still connecting him.
Mr. Taliford, how does your normal, normally you have dark entities in your peripheral vision, you sort of are always in touch with the other side, as it were. Does that change while you're here, or is it magnified in some way?
Yes, I think it's magnified. I think I can see like entities like clear as day, full on in front of me. Like I think I'm in a walking hallucination, essentially. Like I think I have a hard time telling like what the other people can see and what I'm just seeing.
Oh, very good. I like it. We'll play with that. Mr. Quinn, this is the first time in a long, long time you have felt young, like a baby, because this place is so old. How does that youthfulness express itself in how you appear right now?
I think that this elaborate, which I realize we all reference because I put a photo, but anyone watching has no idea, which just the crazy devil costume that Taron Egerton wears from Rocket Man. Excellent movie, by the way.
It's very feathery, like a phoenix.
Yeah. I think that now, I think I look the same, but now that looks almost like a child's Halloween costume.
Nice, good, I like it. Has a handmade quality to it, as it were. You all find yourself wandering. Not even like really, it's unclear if you're even aware of each other, to be honest, once you've arrived in this place. You might occasionally look over a precipice and see another one of these little floating islands and see one of your companions on another floating island wandering. But I think you're all separated from each other for a bit. And Mr. Nelson, you find yourself this little patch that you're walking on, the silvery tendrils of ether or whatever this place is. It's almost like fog. It's like London on a really foggy day. That silveriness starts to like close in, wrap in, tighten, leaving you with just maybe 10 or 12 feet of vision all around. You can see that there are things in the shadows, large creatures, hulking creatures lurking about. What do you do?
I think Hank is seen like, you know, his arms further in, his elbows pulled in tight, not quite recoiling, but like trying to stay clear of these dark shapes moving in the fog near him. And then, like, you know, as the camera pans from him to the shapes and then back again, in Hank's place, there is this sort of almost massive black and brown and yellow spider that is clambering its way, I think completely nonplussed by these shapes moving. Just it's almost like it knows exactly where it's going. And I'm not sure Hank knows where that is, but he's going somewhere with intent.
To be clear, you're separate from each other, or we're just seeing a spider now?
So I think you're just seeing a spider now. I think like Hank is having a real weird experience right now, and he's not always sure who's in control or what he looks like.
Take the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose control?
I think Hank is afraid he's going to join these creatures in the fog, that he's going to join the void as another dark shape to haunt it, to pace it eternally.
It's worse than that. Your companions will have to face you right now. Roll with sensitivity.
Yeah. Sensitivity. Am I any disadvantage or?
Yes. Sons of Another World.
Yeah, I will say, tying into that, this, even when Hank is like in his man form and walking around, this place feels unnervingly comfortable for how strange it is. Oh, that's significantly better than the last time. That is 8 plus 2 is 10.
You keep it together. You don't run from the creatures. You walk forward confidently. Anything else you want to add to the scene?
What's the terrain like beyond, like, of course there's the sort of roiling fog around, but
it's mostly very like just dirt with patchy bits of grass. But it's almost like the grass is almost like, it's like the idea of grass, like
yeah,
whatever grass would end up being, they haven't quite sorted out yet, if that makes any sense. It's like proto grass.
I think after pacing over what what feels like miles of this. Maybe it's only a few feet, who knows. I think Hank will realize that like he's getting nowhere, and he's going wherever his spider form is taking him, like in the bouts where he's sort of taking a back seat. It's taking him somewhere in here, and he's not really sure where that is. And so I think while he's got his wits and powers about him, I think he grabs onto the silver cord emanating from his stomach. I think he's going to make the assumption that since they all came in together, that their cords are probably rooted in the same place or something like it. And so he's going to grab it, and he's going to try to basically, like a rope, pull himself along back to where his comrades are.
Nice. Mr. Taliford. Stepping out of the mist is Mr. Bell. He's in his beautiful form. That's how you see him, at least. And he smiles and says, I never thought I would see you walking in this place. Your talents have started to exceed my expectations.
And I think I'm still a little buzzed from the ceremony, right? So I think it's I think I just sort of like almost like fall to my knees, and like, you know, I'm like just overawed by this whole situation. I think I'm having visions of heaven and all of this, right? So I think I'm just like straight up like prostrate in front of him and like worshiping him.
Mr. Quinn, you will look over and see Mr. Taliford prostrate on the ground, worshiping a truly horrifying, monstrous entity that is here in this place. We're going to take a 5-minute break. When we come back, I would like for you to describe this horror for us all. Back in 5. Mr. Quinn, you see Mr. Taliford prostrate, worshiping a horror. What is it? Describe it.
So I think that from a quick glance, it at first appears to be this kind of like quivering, undulating, like flesh pile that in any other situation, frankly, might be erotic, you know, like an orgy or something. But here it's like warped. It's actually like fused. So you have all these just like body parts and eyes and arms, and like it's wiggling and moving in a way that is not erotic. It's horrifying.
Yeah, I like it. You hear a voice over your shoulder, Mr. Quinn, a voice you recognize. It's Julius. He says, do you see why I wanted to get away from Mr. Bell? Do you turn around?
Yes. Yeah, I do.
When you turn around, you see it's almost like a physical representation of what Julius is fundamentally. It's like a column or a sort of mass of roiling, glistening red blood. And Julius occasionally pushes his face out of the blood, and the blood sort of like streaks down his face. And that's what he's doing right now as he speaks to you. And every time he like tries to like come out of the blood like pulls him back, draws him back in, and he has to fight again to come out of the blood to speak to you. He says, this is what you have condemned me to. You and your colleagues, my former colleagues at Hargrave House. And he's being pulled back into the blood, and it chokes him, and he, you know, kind of coughs and spits. and comes out of the blood again for a little bit. He says, "You and I are condemned to this place, Mr. Quinn. Our long lives ensure that we will be here until Earth is made new. When the sun finally shines again, we will be here to watch it all, to watch the first of mankind crawl from their caves." What do you do?
I think I feel torn between like Julius and what's happening here, and just rage that I feel towards him. But I think there's a pull towards Mr. Taliford. Like I feel like I need to go and save him. And so I think that's gonna win. And I want to try and make my way to Mr. Taliford.
You are there instantly. Just by thinking it, you are there. And you see Mr. Taliford. You see this writhing mass of flesh. Mr. Taliford, you just see Mr. Bell. And Mr. Bell extends his hand down to you and touches your cheek and says, there. You have no need for worship in this place. The concept of worship is a very human concept. Entities like me, like the one that drew you here, we care nothing for the worship of men. It is just noise.
So I think I'll ask him what he wants from me then, because I think I assume he brought me here.
He says, he reads what you mean, and he says, "I did not bring you here. You are the guest of the one that you gave offerings to. I should mention that it cares nothing for your offerings. It is merely amused by the attempt." I, like you, am passing through.
That was going to be my question. Yeah, it's like, what is he doing here in that case?
Unlike you, this is the medium in which I operate. I can come here anytime I like and exit anywhere I like.
So in that case, like, I think I'm like thinking back to Hank earlier helping the spirit, right? And I know that Penelope's spirit is in here. So like, I think I actually do want to help Penelope. So I think I'll ask Mr. Bell then if he knows where Penelope is.
In the meantime, Mr. Taliford, as soon as you express the desire, you find yourself walking just behind the spider. And the spider is approaching a splitting silvery fog. It's opening like Moses's waves. And we see at the other end Penelope dancing, performing, thrusting her arms in the air dramatically. Mr. Quinn, you are left there between Julius and Mr. Bell. And Julius, his face comes out of the blood column again, and he says, "You should join us here, Mr. Quinn. You should join us in immortality, in the eternal. You could fashion yourself as a true god for the people yet to come. You could write yourself into the words It was you that said, "Let there be light." You're muted.
I am very intrigued. I think that there's like an internal battle that I'm having between this offering of power and this sense of friendship. But I
Night
think the
move.
sense of, pardon?
Night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your composure here?
I think I'll give in to the darkness and I won't go and try and find my friends.
I think it's worse than that. You'll stay in the Fragrant Void. Roll with sensitivity and taking a look at your just regular sensitivity is fine.
Nine.
You're still in control. What do you say?
I'm going to say I already am an eternal being. I've been here nearly forever, and I don't see an end in sight. And what keeps me anchored are the people at Hargrave House. And that without them, I risk turning into this. And I just kind of gesture at Julius and Mr. Bell.
It's good. I like it. It's a good response. Very good. Complication is going to be you have to go back now. Or you can mark Janus Mass to stay in the void for now, for a little longer.
I think I'll mark the mask to stay. This like calling of trying to stay connected to humanity through my friends, I think.
And I think you're instantly
okay.
transported,
Okay.
walking right behind Mr. Taliford, like a row of ducks walking towards Penelope. Mr. Taliford, you can see that the spider is walking towards Penelope. Mr. Nelson, how do you perceive it?
I think if he's walking towards Penelope, then I think from Hank's perspective, it's Hank. Because I think the spider's desire is to go somewhere else in here, but I'm not sure Hank really understands where that is. So if he's heading toward Penelope, then it's Hank to Hank.
Oh, so you're Hank right now.
Yes.
Ah.
From his perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Mr. Taliford, is it still a spider, or do you see Mr. Nelson?
I think it's like flickering back and forth.
I'm curious, Mr. Quinn, you've never seen Mr. Nelson in the spider form. You might not have even known about this. It could just be explained away because this is a strange place, but this place does seem to be revealing the truths of things. I'm curious what you're thinking right now as you walk along in this strange row.
I feel like it's a little bit lighthearted that I'm kind of just like, you know what? That tracks. Okay, like, sure, this is happening. Makes sense. A little bit of monster inside of all of us, you know.
It's true. It's true. Good. Mr. Nelson, when you arrive at Penelope, she makes no response to you. What do you do?
Am I aware that Mr. Taliford and Mr. Quinn are behind me?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then I think in seeing that this is where the string has led me, Hank nods, you know, that tracks. That's sort of what we came in here for. And he, I think, raised the hand and like snaps his fingers by her and is like, Penelope, I believe I've only seen your picture, but you're Penelope, yes?
She turns and lets out a blood-curdling scream. Mr. Taliford, you see the spider rising up on its rear limbs and opening its mandibles, and its razor forelimbs are about to drop down on Penelope. What do you do?
I was definitely planning on consulting my rune stands, but it feels like that this might be a slightly more time-sensitive situation than that.
I don't know. It's the Fragrant Void. Go for it.
Okay, yeah. So I'll consult. I will thin the veil. I'm just going to check my rune stands and just see what's going to happen here.
Let's read the move. It says, okay, go ahead and roll.
That's an 11.
You get to ask what is about to happen and why. What is about to happen is the spider is about to devour Penelope in this plane of existence. But it's a good thing you got the why. The why is important here. The why is because that is going to be how Penelope returns to the mortal world. What is the reason, though? How is that the method?
So I think that I can see like the darkness in Penelope that's chaining her here. And I think that's what the spider is going to eat. And that's what's like tethering her here.
So you know just to let it happen, essentially. Mr. Nelson, knowing all this, or really David, describe the scene. What does this look like?
Yeah, I think with that knowledge, then I'm gonna tie that darkness within Penelope. That's there is some entity tied to the Whateley Camera that has brought us here, right? That brought her here as well. And whatever it is timeless and powerful. And I think that is what the spider had been, taking Hank towards, was whatever had brought them there, whatever power that was. And finding Penelope here, it's a piece of it. And so when Hank, he's flickering between these states, when he flickers into his spider form, the spider now here before this dark and cosmic power, just a little chunk of it, just sitting right here. I think the spider can't help but take a bite. And so it rears back onto its hind legs, as you described, and the mandibles open wide. And I think it just starts at the top and bites and bites and bites, and almost like a snake sort of swallowing a rodent whole, the spider starts at the shoulders and moves its way down Penelope and takes her into itself.
And both Penelope and the spider are gone.
Yeah, and Hank stands there and it's like, oh, Mr. Taliford, Mr. Quinn, have you seen Penelope? She was here a moment ago.
I think Taliford realizes what's happened, and he's like, that's your second good deed for the day.
What is?
She's back. She's fine. You saved her. I'm not sure what effect it might have on you, though.
Oh, well, happy to oblige, I suppose. Well, if Penelope is returned, do we have any further business here? I feel strangely at home here, and my rational senses are telling me that perhaps that's not as good of a thing as I feel it might be.
So can we say that at this point your tether has snapped?
Yeah, that's good.
So I think
I don't think Hank
Taliford
has
can pick
noticed
it
that.
up.
Yeah, I don't think Hank had noticed that.
Yeah, so I think Taliford picks it up and shows you the frayed end and is like, I'm not sure that your way back is as clear as it is for the rest of us.
And I think, Hank looks to like the scrap still attached to him and sort of looks at it and looks at the rest in your hand and nods. Well, he like looks at his hands and realizes that he's been Hank now for longer than he has his whole time here, that he's felt no change to the spider now for whole moments at a time. And he looks up to Mr. Taliford and Mr. Quinn, and if I am remaining here, then I worry that a very dark part of me has left and gone back. I don't think that 2 good deeds are enough to save me from what might happen because of it.
Well, I don't think that's a thing you need to worry about anymore. You have your future that you need to figure out for yourself here, and we'll deal with whatever part of you left.
And he'll nod, and I think he goes to Mr. Quinn first, and he stands there. And does Mr. Quinn have their gloves here? Have his gloves here?
No, I think as part of the like childishness, the gloves are not.
I think Hank will like start to extend his hand and then like stop and right. Mr. Quinn, it's been a pleasure.
I'm gonna extend both hands bare and like take your hand. And I'm not gonna say anything, just gonna hold them and look you in the eye. And then as I pull my hands away, I've left in your hand the pocket watch inscribed with "To my love."
And he'll hold it and look at it for a moment and close it and put it in his pocket. And he'll go over to Mr. Taliford, and I think he just like embraces him and like kisses him on the neck and sort of grabs him by the shoulders and looks at him.
And Taliford, like you can see, like he's obviously crying at this point.
Yeah, Hank too, for sure. And no, go ahead.
Regrettably, this emotional moment comes to a sudden and dramatic end when Mr. Quinn and Mr. Taliford find themselves being dragged along the ground by their silver cords. Rapidly, you see Mr. Nelson disappearing, being drawn away, and you are both being pulled to the precipice of a cliff. Your silver cords are held tight.
Are we within like reach of each other?
Yes.
I would like to reach out and grab Mr. Taliford's hand.
There is a titanic entity rising up from the precipice, rising up from the deep void. It has a single fog light-like eye that casts light upon you and has enormous, thick black tentacles, as thick as trees, rising up around it. This is your host. It speaks to you, except it sounds like, if you've ever played that video game Control, it sounds like, but you know what it wants. You understand it. The entity is amused by you. the entity wishes to leave a mark upon you, you will be allowed to return to your world. But you will be marked by the void. It is a permanent condition, like most beloved. If you don't, you must do battle with the entity to free yourself. No matter what, at the end, assuming you survive, you have Voidwalker, the move. You can each make a different decision. One of you can leave the other behind.
I specifically stayed for my friends when I could have left, so I actually will wait and follow Mr. Taliford's lead because we've just lost one of our own and I don't want to lose another one. So
I think that I'm going to reach out to Mr. Bell and ask for help.
Oh boy, that sounds like a bad idea, but I'm kind of here for it. We can handle this a couple different ways. Give Mr. Bell something of importance to you from your personal quarters, and he will aid you. Either he will get you out or he'll help you. He'll help you get out regardless. Some way he'll help you. What would you give him?
I think I'm gonna let him have my crow. I think I'm gonna let him have like just sever the connection between me and the crow.
Oh wow, that's good. Okay. Do you want to escape free and clear, or do you want help fighting it?
I think that like in my mind, Mr. Bell can easily handle this thing.
Oh,
I think I'm pissed that
Yeah.
it's taken Hank away, and like all of this stuff is all its fault, and I want Bell to just rip this thing apart.
I think this is a pretty significant sacrifice. Mr. Bell will get you both out of the Fragrant Void. And in doing so, this sort of flesh abomination starts to grow these large raven-like black wings, and the head of a raven comes out from the center of this mass of flesh. The raven strikes fast, but not at the creature. It strikes at Julius and tears Julius apart in its beak, crushes it, and then, like a bird feeding its babies, feeds pieces of Julius, bloody chunks, to the strange twisted people in its form. They lap it up like little children. His blood and his bone and his viscera, it spatters all over them. And they grow. And it's just, I think you just see these two titanic creatures facing off, and they're ready to clash. And I don't think we see the conclusion of it. You just find yourselves, minus Mr. Nelson, in the trophy room. Green is probably very, very surprised. And Penelope is there as well. Maybe Green's been seeing to Penelope. And that will conclude the night phase.
So can I say that I 100% saw that as like Mr. Bell riding a white horse with like a flaming sword.
Oh, you saw it differently.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. My hero. Very good, very good.
And something I wanted to add, that when he's returned to the room, that Mr. Taliford will find in one of his pockets that Hank tucked there when he embraced him, was he had in his quarters a small whittled bird from his childhood.
Mm.
And so I think you find in your pocket this small whittled crow that
That's good.
Hank
Yeah.
that Hank carved as a child.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. Fabulous. Let's go to the dawn. You do get to collect rewards because a threat was resolved. So here are the rewards. I'm just take a photo of them. I think that'll be easier. I'll insert it here. One of the options is the Whateley Camera, but you already have it in your personal quarters, Mr. Quinn. But I think what I'll say here is if you choose this option, it will basically make the Whateley Camera becomes an undisturbed part of Hargrave House's collection and will not be pursued by others, right? I think without choosing this option, the Whateley Camera is always just going to be like a problem because it's, you know, an object of power. So finding it will be, or marking this will be like containing it, right? So you also all get the Voidwalker Move. I will add the Voidwalker Move to the sheet before next week. But I'll tell you what it does though, in case you're curious. The Voidwalker Move says, when you have the cosmic passage marked and use an object of power to attune to the Fragrant Void, roll its sensitivity. On a hit, you travel to the Fragrant Void and gain keen insight into a threat of your choice. I reveal 2 clues. On a 10+, no entity from the void will disturb you. On a miss, you unmark the cosmic passage and then cross it off your sheet. So, but that is the move. Anyway, rewards. Mr. Taliford, Mr. Quinn, what would you like?
So I feel like I already got my memento from Hank.
Oh, good. I like it. Yeah, I think the way it was defined is really good. Yeah.
And I think that given my condition of like needing to possess the camera, that keeping it makes sense.
Yeah, and I'll let you clear that condition too. So good. Like you win. You were the winner, the winner of the Whateley Camera game. Good. All right, let's keep going. Dawn questions. You did answer a question. You did resolve the threat. There was no opportunities for Echo of the Nights. We'll skip that. However, it doesn't really matter for Mr. Nelson, but I am curious, did you use violence to solve a problem, Mr. Nelson?
I mean, he did eat a woman whole.
That is true. It was a sort of violence, yeah. Did you share a treasured memory from the States during an intimate moment with another character?
No, I had that because I thought I might do a Mask of the Past related thing today, but that didn't end up happening. So
didn't happen. That's okay. Let's go to Mr. Quinn. Did you express a clear preference for the beautiful over the mundane?
It's a little unorthodox, but I like to think that taking Hank's hand at the end was like a beautiful moment over my like regular rules of not touching.
Oh, I'm kind of into it.
Are we
Yeah, I
counting
like
that?
it. Yeah, I like it. It's almost like you yourself have evolved, right? In a way,
Yeah.
which I think is interesting. I don't think you appeared in London Society wearing.
Well,
a
actually,
mascara.
no. Does it count if I was wearing it all day and I went to the Society Obscura?
Yeah, because I
wearing
want like a scene out of it. Like I want
Fair
there to be
enough.
like some kind of like impact, you know. Mr. Taliford, did you have a face-to-face encounter? Yes, you did with Dark Enemy.
Definitely on that one, yeah.
Did you perform a ritual, however?
Depends on if the Whateley Camera thing counts as a ritual.
Oh, it does.
Like it's
Yeah,
not the
it
ritual
does.
move.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely does. Fantastic. All right, let's keep going. You can mark New Dawn questions if you wish. Let's take a look at playbook moves. Nothing to do there. Let's go to, do we have any unmarked or unmarked Janus masks that we have to do? Go ahead.
I also owe you one from last time that I didn't get to finish because I left.
Oh, let's do lots of storytelling time with Mr. Quinn.
Okay, so from last time, we've got narrate a flashback that shows when you cruelly discarded the artist. So I think that it's a really simple scene where you see this woman, like, she's dressed beautifully, she's waiting at like a table in a restaurant perhaps, and I walk in the door, but there are two other women, one in each arm, and I just we walk past her table and I pay zero attention to her. And then narrate a flashback to a scene when the artists destroyed themselves because of your rejection. How did the masterwork change in order to reflect your cold indifference? Hold on, I need to check our safety things. Suicide isn't marked. I just want to check it that everyone's still fine with that. So I think that it's a cut to a scene. It's like a day. I receive an invitation. It's beautifully written out. It doesn't say who it's from. I'm very intrigued by this. It's very exciting. Green dresses me and I go to this place that I've never been for. It's a beautiful home. And there's like a note on the door that says just like, let yourself in. And so I follow. And then there are all of these like gorgeous like purple flower petals from something, and they sort of like lead me through the house to the bathroom, where I find that the artist has said this elaborate, beautiful, I kind of appreciate it in a way, tableau, where she has slit her wrists and sort of lays in the tub waiting for me to find her.
Very good. And how has your masterwork changed in general today?
So I guess how has it changed? I think that my expression, which had been kind of like beautiful and serene, now looks much harsher. Not necessarily like frowning, but like cold, angry, maybe. And I marked it for, oh yes, taking things. I think that suddenly what appears but wasn't there before is like a handful of carved like jewels and like other things that I'm like grasping very, very strongly.
Nice. Good. Any other Janus mask? Okay. Then that will be the conclusion of our session. Let's do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Well, big star for Hank and like his whole going out scene. I thought that was great.
Yeah, that scene was really good. And I knew what was coming, and so I felt a little bad, like sort of literally yanking you both out of it, but I was enjoying it.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it would have happened in the show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's like as soon as you go for an embrace, it would be like full, yeah.
I want to like star for this romance never getting to develop because I'm all about that fucking tragic bullshit. So sad star for that.
Yeah, star for me. I really enjoyed the whole Fragrant Void sequence. I thought that was really fun to do. It's fun to just do surreal weirdness, and so I like that. I did really like Mr. Nelson's send off. I thought that was really, really great. Actually, it just felt really, really good, really emotional, and yeah, I really, really dug it.
Yeah, star to making a wish last session that came true in this one, which was that either Hank very soon was going to run out of crowns or run out of masks rather, or become a spider. So fulfilled.
Mhm.
I would also like to throw a star out. I really liked all of Mr. Quinn's stuff this episode. It's hard to choose, but like I thought the interaction and like I will destroy you socially was great earlier. And then just I think especially because Mr. Quinn sometimes like looks down on people pretty regularly. I think it's a really interesting character development for Mr. Quinn to like basically be faced with a situation of like live here and become a god maybe, and then be like, no, but I kind of like the people though. Like,
Yeah, that the little bit of humanity was great,
Mhm.
actually. Yeah,
oh, that's very good.
it's like, oh, Mr. Quinn.
Well, look how that turned out. So we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, you were rewarded with one of those people who anchors you, losing them, and then having to face this monstrosity. Yeah, that was good. Any other stars or wishes?
Star to the scene where we got the mastermind clue with the bolts of fabric coming up, and just one of my favorite things where you have that like player knowledge versus character knowledge and being like, obviously this is for me from green, but knowing obviously that the blue fabric. I just really love those moments when they come through as a player where you actually have to take that second to be like, no, I need to play into like the actual character knowledge here. I enjoy that.
I just want to know, like I think what I was trying to imply, it was almost like a message of Theodora, like saying, like, I'm about to take over, right? I'm about to,
But I also just loved the idea that Mr. Quinn is so
so
self-absorbed
self-involved.
that
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
obviously,
exactly,
this is
right.
just
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. And Green has this background too, right? So it makes sense, right? Like,
Yeah, I loved that without Green being here and having Mr. Quinn be the one to answer the door, that whole scene just was totally different because of those circumstances.
Yeah, like on the Mr. Green on the green front too. Like I think it's very funny. Like it sucks that Adrian wasn't here, but I think it's very funny that like we're gonna get back and like Hank's gone. We've gone and like met gods and stuff, and like he was there just trying to operate the camera. It feels very like in character.
Always the last to leave, right?
Yep,
Like we
exactly.
left him behind.
Yep, exactly. My wish for next time, I'm really curious which playbook you're going to choose for next time, David. I know you were kind of wanting the Unquiet. You can definitely do that now if you wish. But we've also got the Explorer. We've got that might be it. Is there another one? Explorer. The Mother, yeah, Mother. So you got three options. Yeah.
It's hard because like now that we're getting closer to mastermind stuff, the Explorer could be very interesting because they have that implicit relationship to the mastermind.
Definitely.
Which for a sort of late story add of a new character, that could be useful.
Could be interesting. Or alternatively, it could be that like the Explorer's connection is to the next mastermind, whoever's after Theodora, right? So yeah.
No, I think I'm so interested in the Unquiet, and I really want to see how it plays. So I think that's probably what I'm going to go with.
I guess my other wishes are, I don't know. I think I really like where this is going. I like that we're putting the Whateley camera in the rearview mirror. Like I think I feel like we have these like little moments where it feels like the story kind of resets a little bit, and I feel like we're going to have one of those next week. So I'll just be kind of curious to see where it kind of goes. So you're going to have the spider to deal with, so that'll be fun.
I'm really interested to see now how the relationship between Mr. Quinn and Mr. Taliford might change or not change potentially, because I feel like there haven't been particularly close, but now like going through this together, I wonder.
Yeah, you've had this experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, well, I had a great time. It's a great session. Thank you all so much. And I will stop the recording now.